creative. I guess I would put that word in there. Just the fact that they, risked using bold purples and stuff like that. Having these pretty large spaces from what I've seen for upcoming events. It's nice to know it's here should the occasion arise and you have an event you want to, where you want to showcase something or just have a great time in the city. This is a good place for it. My name is Mark Okema. I am a business partner with my youngest son. His name is Aaron Okema for a business called Float. Float KW is what's called in the industry a float center. It is a place where people literally float and the water makes them float. There's 950 pounds of pharmaceutical grade Epsom salt in a mere 200 gallons of water. So it's a 28% salt solution. And you're enclosed in, you've got your private room and you're enclosed in a private float chamber. You're going to float. The salt makes you float. And the idea is to get some relief off of your body, your muscles, your musculature, your skeleton. But it also does some wonderful things for your nervous system and your brain. So there's a lot going on when you float. And it's meant to do different things for different people. There's a wonderful page called ifloat4.com. I encourage everyone to look at it. It's lowercase words, one word, ifloatfor.com. It narrates hundreds of first-hand accounts of what floating does for people. And if you were to look at that page, it breaks it down into about 12 different reasons, major reasons why people float. They float to help their heads, their nervous systems, their bodies. So when it comes to the mind, the most wonderful things are, I can think of three things. Number one, concussions. If you think of the routine you go into when you go into that private room in that private chamber, it's very much a concussion protocol. That chamber is dark, you're segregated from the rest of the world, things are nice and quiet as if you were on your bed in a dark bedroom. And people really, they heal so much faster on a concussion if they do that. Sometimes they may have to do that for 2 weeks in a row, where literally 5 out of 6 days in a week they have to float. But it helps your brain's neural networks solidify. And if a primary neural network has been damaged, you can get your float to help your brain develop those secondary neural networks and make them primary. So that's one thing that happens mentally. Another thing that happens mentally that is really, really satisfying to see is people with PTSD. You know, whether it's a cop or an ambulance driver, fire, someone who works in the fire departments, they really do love floating for what it does for PTSD. If you were to go to the States, you'd probably see 3 or 4 different float centers actually started or founded by veterans who had PTSD and discovered the hard way floating was about the only thing that really helped them. We repeatedly get that from people who do have PTSD. It really does calm them down so they don't get those triggers going. The other mental thing is depression. It's very cool what happens for some people. For some people, their depression really is physically or chemically based. It's about the fact that their bodies are really short on magnesium. When you're floating in water that has 950 pounds of what's called magnesium sulfate or Epsom salts. Your body absorbs that through your skin. And for some people with depression, it really works and helps them with that. So those are 3 things that help mentally and that are pretty dramatic. Some of the most satisfying clients are those, for example, with fibromyalgia. They may come in and float regularly. Let's say they'll float once a month. They may do that for 6 months and all of a sudden they disappear. Why? because it actually, that chronic pain has been relieved. And they may show up several months later. So that's one example. Another wonderful example we get from our clients is pain reduction. I mean, like serious pain reduction. It can be from a joint or a muscle or even their nerves. We do have some people say it's about the only thing that's helped them with some of their nerves. Others with chronic pain, they love it because your body produces endorphins when you float. Endorphins are happy chemicals. So we see people on a whole spectrum of responses about that endorphin rush that floods through their body. Number one, it does make them happy and it does help them feel a lot less pain. So they can go home and actually sleep, not have to worry about pain. So you've got that thing going. But some people, when they have that rush, it's like they're almost drunk. It's hilarious. They get the giggles. That's how good endorphins feel in your body. So it's great to see. We had a Boston marathoner who was floating for a while she was still doing her marathons. And she had a very small car. She was a tall woman. But when she came out, she actually had to ratchet her car seat back, adjust the rear view mirror here, and adjust the two side mirrors because she got taller. She stretched out. She thinks she stretched out a good inch in 90 minutes. One of the things that would be different from other float centers in Southern Ontario is price point. We do 90-minute floats, and you'll find that there are a lot of places out there that only offer 60-minute floats, and those 60-minute floats are actually more expensive than our 90-minute floats. Okay, so I would say that's definitely one thing special. I believe if you were to ask at random, let's say a dozen clients, virtually all of them will tell you that float is a very calm setting. It's a very serene kind of place. There are a lot of plants there. We have a ton of organic plants there. It's a very green kind of space, and it's very quiet and peaceful. I heard a story of a kid back in 2014. They were doing a report on a young entrepreneur. This kid was still a teenager, I think. He bought a really cheap used school bus. He tricked it out like an old hippie bus, put a float chamber in there and a shower, and then he chased all the music festivals up and down the BC Pacific coast, figuring he had a ready clientele there. People who, just by the nature of the fact that they were at this music festival, they'd be very keen on a different kind of experience. And there wasn't much else to do. So hadn't heard of float until I heard that story, and we got really intrigued. So we started to check it out and discovered it's a really growing industry. It's been around since '79. First float center opened up then in Beverly Hills, but really it was 2010, 2011 things got serious.